inside the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. The House is an area in social media where individuals can come together to discuss societal issues, and from that discussion influence political action. Welcome to the House,
where our house is your house.
Time for New Age independence in America. The time is ripe for independence to take back our democracy. And a new third party could make it happen. A video essay from House founder Johnny Hill on the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. Hello, I'm Ramblin' Rose reporter with the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. More and more Americans across the political landscape are calling for a third-party option. This explosion comes after the 2016 election, where voters were purged from the voting rolls. Solid evidence of election fraud, and the presidency going to one Donald Trump, who did not win the popular vote. Pressing forward to 2020, the outcome while being contested, there is a mood that has reached a boiling point. American voters are growing more cynical of the two-party system. Our House virtual team will be breaking down an essay Johnny wrote back in 2017. Here in the House Forum.
163 years, the president has been either a Democrat or a Republican. So how did America end up with this exclusive two-party system? What many fail to realize is that America has not always operated this way. There haven't always been political parties in America. In fact, most of our founding fathers were skeptical of political parties.
There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the Republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution. John Adams.
The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual, and sooner or later the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purposes of his own elevation, on the ruins of public liberty. George Washington.
George Washington, in his farewell address, argued that opposing parties would relentlessly seek to sabotage each other at the expense of the American people. Nevertheless, by the time Washington left office in 1797, the country had split into two parties: the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party. In short, the Federalist Party was made up of elitists, while the Democratic Republican Party was the working class party. These parties endured until the mid-1800s, by which time the Federalist had dissolved, and the Democratic Republican Party had split into the modern-day Democratic Party and the new Republican Party, after a short 20 years run as the Whig Party. The new Republicans evolved into just Republicans. By 1854, the U.S. had what we know today as the Democratic and Republican parties. This duopoly has persisted over the last century, and continuing largely because of the country's first has a set number of electorates based on that state's population. This is a winner-take-all system. Whichever candidate gets the majority of votes, no matter the margin, gets all the electorates. There is no reward for second place, and therefore little incentive to create a party that will get some votes, but not the majority. America is just one of a few countries that use this voting system. As a result, other countries see representation from more than just two parties. These other countries use what is known as proportional representation to elect officials, rather than a winner-take-all system. Many Americans, especially after the last two elections, are coming forth arguing that our present two-party system is so corrupted that it has become unjust, not only because of the corruption, but also It limits voters' options at the polls. And it breeds an environment that encourages politicians and their establishments to circumvent the will of the American people. We see this happening daily and why. It's time for New Age independence in America.
Hello, I'm Abby Conklin, investigative reporter for the all-new House of Public Discourse, Radio.com. Johnny, our research has found that the answer to this question is no. It's not the reason third parties can't take off. The Electoral College is not what's causing America to have a two-party system. The real cause for the two-party system, as we have previously cited, is the first-past-the-post voting system. Winner takes all elections is the culprit.
The Federalist Papers summary and analysis of Essay 10. Madison begins perhaps the most famous of the Federalist Papers by stating that one of the strongest arguments in favor of the Constitution is the fact that it establishes a government capable of controlling the violence and damage caused by factions have always been the cancer in our governance. Hello, I am Kolchak, beat reporter with the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. We must remember that when our nation came to life, there were very few democracies in the world. For many years, in America, there was much written about the evils political parties would create.
That's right, Kolchak. It wasn't until the 1860s that the idea was presented by John Stuart Mill about the system we now know as proportional representation. Subsequently, just about every democracy that has formed since that time has implemented this form of representation, which, by the way, are most of the democracies we have in the world today. It's time for New Age independence.
That the unprecedented movement away from party membership will not have enormous consequences in elections sooner rather than later.
A bombshell new survey, even partisans are tired of the two parties. 53% of Colorado voters believe the two parties are not working together in the state legislature to solve problems facing constituents. 71% blame partisan gridlock on both major parties. An astounding 85% are open to voting for an independent candidate, and 78% believe independent candidates can represent all of the people, not just those from their party. There is no question. Many Americans are unhappy with our political process. People would like to see our government serve us better. Things like rebuilding our infrastructure, solving the problems of the growing inequality, healthcare for all, just to name a few. Of course, topping the list is to remove big money from our political campaigns, corruption, and waste. In short, we the people want our elected officials to listen and respond to the issues that affect our daily lives. Hell, no one is claiming it's going to be easy. Inside government, it's a struggle to find bought and paid for politicians to go against their deep-pocketed donors and try new things that just may be beneficial to all Americans. It has become so frustrating to see the evaporation of transparency from our elected officials. What's even worse, it's become impossible for the everyday citizens' voices to be heard. However, is it not exciting to be on the front lines of a revolution to change the culture of government? But no one person can effect this change alone. Changing the culture of government is larger than any one person. It's time for New Age independence in America. Where will it come from? Can we all play a role? The answer is yes and yes. The internet and social media are changing politics. What have we learned already? The political activists on social media have made a difference in bringing political awareness to the casual follower of politics. However, it's time to kick it up a notch. Yes, big money is still the most powerful force in American politics. However, social media is and can be the counter to this travesty on our governance. You can bet your bottom dollar that both the political parties' establishments are seeing and feeling this shift. It's getting harder and harder for the mainstream media and others in government to keep their actions clandestine. There is a better way of governance than what we have been subjected to over the last several decades. And more people are becoming aware of it. There needs to become a time in the present, not the future, that our government gets back to being by the people for the people, where we know everything our elected officials know when they know it. It's time for new age independence in America. And we the people can make it happen. We can be, must be, a generation that ends poverty not only in America but across the globe. We must become a generation most determined to fight injustice and wealth inequalities. We must be people who save this planet from climate change. We must embrace the reality that Medicare for all is the right course of action for a myriad of reasons. We must work to corral the ills of racism. Never has there been a time so ripe for real change to occur in America. No, it will not be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. America needs a reboot. And the time is ripe for new age independence in America.